Hi everyone, Chris here, back with a shorter video focusing now on our thermals and performance with the Xiaomi 14 Pro, which is for me the first Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 phone. So we've got the latest and greatest chipset here. So I have enabled through the developer options, you can see this little widget here. Now the reasoning behind this is to focus a little bit on the UI performance. Now see how the frame rate does dip it down a little bit. It drops to 90 frames per second. A little bit of that, I wanted to point out, is to do with the fact that we are running a variable refresh rate. So the screen will refresh right down to just 1 frame per second, 1 hertz, okay? And this is, of course, part of energy savings. So you will see that happen. No, you actually won't see it happen, but you'll see it here. You'll see the frame rate will vary. Now, in use, you're not really going to notice a dip of 20 frames per second. I'm not nitpicking. I'm not trying to dig into find negatives about this phone. No, the UI performance is excellent. It's super smooth, really fast. And I've got the base model here with 12 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of UFS 4.0 storage. So the first impressions video, I had a problem with Antutu that it didn't finish correctly. Here it has finished correctly, and you can see the score is absolutely massive. This is huge. Now it did go up 17 degrees in the time doing this test here. This is the S23 Ultra, and you can see the difference now between here our Gen 2 and then the Gen 3. So the big improvements are the GPU. So the Adreno 750, a lot better as you'd expect than the 740. Here is the iPhone that, but you can't really compare it, even though you can get Antutu on all these platforms. Apparently this is not true multi-platform. I'll get onto Geekbench 6.2 Results 2, which is, and 3D Mark as well. But you just can see here that, yeah, synthetic benchmark-wise, it is a huge step up. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. Is it a noticeable one when gaming? Well, I'll talk about that soon. And I talked about it in the first video. And, well, not really. Not when you're gaming. You don't notice this as much. Geekbench 6 scores. You can see that the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 versus the Gen 2. Huge difference there. I mean, look, we've gone from almost 5,500 to over 7,000 points. Now, I wanted to point out that I ran this in the performance mode, okay? This is a performance boosting mode, and is it benchmark cheating? I don't know. It could be, but you tap here, and you can put it into the high performance mode, which will make the phone get a lot hotter, but really does actually boost the performance. And that's how I managed to achieve such a good score. And you can see the iPhone 15 Pro Max here still cannot be beaten. I mean, look at that single core score there. Very, very good. But that's only for short bursts. And you'll see later soon that the thermals and the throttling on this, absolutely terrible with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. The GPU results here, you cannot compare them because that is Metal that it's using. This is OpenCL for the 2 Androids. And again, you can see this huge step up we get with the Gen 3 versus the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. So that is a big boost there in the performance. But this is my favorite benchmark to run, which is the Wildlife Extreme Stress Test. It's so demanding. The GPU is just pushed so hard. You can see the throttling when you look at the stability. This is where you can see how much it throttles down. So the lower the score here, the worst. You can see the best loop and then the lowest on the iPhone. So it throttles quite a bit, almost 30%. And this is 33% here with the S23 Ultra. They're not good at all. There's a lot of throttling. And this is the way that Samsung loves to handle things, is just throttle the hell out of it. Now, when you take a look here at the difference, Wildlife Extreme Test here, it is huge. 5,000 points. That's even better than the iPhone there. And then the lowest, 4,000. So an incredible score. Now, I did have quite a few problems to actually achieve and get this score here, because what was happening with our Xiaomi 14 Pro with its Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is a lot of the times it would just crash and burn. And what I mean by that is it gets that hot that it failed to run the benchmark. About the 15-16 minute mark, it just crashed out, and it would boot me back into the UI, and the UI, even just doing a simple thing like this with the launcher, became quite laggy, and the phone all around the outside incredibly hot, getting up to 48, 49 degrees Celsius. So you're not actually going to always be able to get this kind of result, because a lot of the times, and it took me about 3 attempts, to actually get this result right here. So you can see it throttles quite a bit, but I think Xiaomi should probably throttle this more to stop it crashing. You can't have apps crashing. But the good news is when you game, it doesn't crash at least, but it still will get extremely hot, quite warm to the touch. And here you can see the difference in the frame rates and the temperatures. So the iPhone doesn't show the temperature, 42 degrees, 43 degrees. Now that is, I believe, taken from the battery temperature. So the frame around the outside was getting a lot hotter. So it's just dispersing that heat. It gets very, very uncomfortable. This also gets really hot, but not quite as hot as the Xiaomi here, which is a very hot running phone. So that's why I think, personally, Xiaomi needs to throttle it down a little bit more, and I think they will. This is their behavior normally. The initial first firmwares, for when everyone reviews them, have really good performance, and then they just throttle it back. Now, once all the reviews are out, people see the performance, then they decide, okay, now it's time to throttle it down. You can see the battery loss too. So it went from 100% to 84 in 20 minutes, and that went from 93 to 82, and we lost 10% here with the iPhone. So it's all interesting, and just again, a huge boost in performance from the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 when looking at synthetic benchmarks. Let's try some gaming now. Back to Genshin Impact. I did show this in my first impressions video, and it was just that, a first impressions, just a quick little look. And I made the comment that pretty much the performance is exactly the same as the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. And, well, it really is. I don't see that much of a difference at all. So at the moment, 60 frames per second. Whoops, I need to dodge all these attacks from this guy. And you see that when I look around the map, certain areas when there's a lot to be rendered, that the frame rate is going to dip down a little bit. I sometimes see it get to about 52 frames per second. It really depends on what area of the map. Whoops, I'm not paying attention here, talking too much. What area of the map you are on to whether you're going to get that lag or not. But it runs really well. I mean, you can't get any better performance this on a mobile. It is very, very good here, as you can see. So just show you those settings again, because there were one or two comments that a couple of people said that, no, you're not actually running the top possible settings. Well, I am. You see here, you go into the graphic settings, of course, and I do set the highest preset, but it says custom here because I set the frame rate to 60. It's really what you want, unless your battery's getting a bit low, of course, then maybe put it into 30, but playing this game at 30 frames per second, you're not doing it justice. It really does feel quite a bit choppy. Now, just show you one other area of the map now. Statues of the 7 in Hydro can be a little bit laggy. See, 48 frames per second. It's only really at the beginning again, kind of when you're caching things in. Now back to 60 frames per second. There is a lot to render, all those NPCs around and everything, of course. But no, as I said, performance, very, very good. You cannot really get any better than this. And are you really noticing that massive step up in the GPU performance with the benchmarks? I really don't think you are. Not at 60 frames per second. You can see some areas again dipping down a little bit. But overall, yeah, not too bad at all. 50 frames per second then. So just how hot is it getting? Well, you can see it's around about 47 degrees around the frame. And almost up to 48 there. So that's the hottest I see it when gaming. Genshin Impact is about 49 degrees Celsius. It gets really, really hot. But if you do run, as I mentioned, 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme Stress Test, then it will go even over that and get up towards 50 degrees and end up getting that hot. It overheats sometimes and boots you out completely. So yes, this is the problem it does have. I think it's getting just a little too hot to the touch. So there we go. That is the reason why I think Xiaomi will probably end up just releasing a firmware updated patch just to throttle it down a bit to lower those temperatures. Now, is this a problem with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, or is it just this unit here? I will find out, because later on I will be reviewing, of course, some more Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 phones, and I will let you know about the thermals, how they fare. Now, if you want to see more on the 14 Pro, do check out my first impressions, in-depth, hands-on video with it and the camera comparison against the S23 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max if you want to know more about the set of cameras this particular model does have and what they can do.